Welcome to Off Script with Sarover and Mum, and this is a podcast between a mother and daughter having open and vulnerable conversations about the weight we inherit and the freedom we choose.
Today's conversation is about growing up in South Asian households while navigating life between cultures.
We'll be talking about the pressure to achieve, the unspoken expectations, and how this shaped us, our adulthood, our careers, and our identity. So how are you feeling today, Mum?
Good, just very cold.
I know it's very cold at the moment, but how did you feel after our first conversation together?
It felt good that we got to speak about a lot of areas that for many are difficult to discuss. It did feel very heavy.
Yeah, because even we hadn't discussed it in that depth before either. So
True.
Hopefully we opened up those conversations. And today I was hoping we could discuss something that I think a lot of us can relate to and resonate with. And that is success, achievement, pressure. And I'm really intrigued to know, what did success look like to you in your household growing up?
In our household, looking back in the early 80s, even the late 70s, it was very different.
In what way?
When I say different, through my eyes, and I can say for many others' eyes too, we just saw our mothers managing a household, cooking, cleaning, looking after the children, and a fear in their eyes, not understanding their environment because the lack of the language that they couldn't understand, which was English. So they were still trying to understand, fit in. Then they had these children that they wanted to do their best for, but they didn't know how because they couldn't really fit into the culture. So we would see that love, but we would see that fear. So that success, what I was seeing was a struggle.
Okay.
So success for my parents became our children should listen to us.
So be obedient, basically.
Be obedient. So we would see a lot of family gatherings where it looked happy. So for our parents, if we behaved, listened to them, the guests or the relatives would see that we are good children in front of them.
And was that throughout most of childhood, teenage years? Oh wow, the whole entire upbringing.
Well, I didn't last into very many teenage years with my parents.
We'll get onto that later. Yeah.
So the part I remember is we're doing that. The parents felt proud because people would walk away, relatives, friends, saying, oh, wow, their children were so polite. They were so good. That family, they're such a lovely family. Yeah. Look at their children. They are making them proud.
Wow, okay, so that's what success was in their eyes. What about when it came to you? What did it look like for you as being their child? For example, what could you do? And was that it? Was it just if you basically behaved well and were seen as good children in front of relatives, society, the community, that was success in their eyes?
Sounds not great if that's how we were looked upon or measured or valued, because I used to love achieving at school, being a sports child, being in a netball team.
We sound so similar.
I managed to get into a netball team, but only during school hours.
Why not after hours, like clubs or competitions?
There was that fear, where will my daughter be going?
Even when it came to school activities?
I was at primary school. I remember the odd netball match away, but it had to be so much conversation. Where will I be taken? What school? Wow. Who am I going with? The teacher will be with us. You had to go through so many hurdles
with your
barriers, to gain that trust. It was huge.
So they didn't really push then with education or with hobbies because for us, you know, growing up, success was, be in the teams, do all the matches, go to the tournaments. If we were gone for God knows the whole day, it's like, well, they're doing something good, but it didn't seem like you guys had that push at all.
No, I remember,
if anything, it sounded like a hindrance.
Yeah, it was massive hurdles and challenges just for me to explain and gain their acceptance. that this is huge,
That's
going to an
tough.
away match at a primary school, not even high school yet.
And then what about when you, like, later on in life, what did success, did it change, or do you think that was pretty much it with your whole upbringing at home?
I remember my studies, wanting to achieve high grades, wanting to study, and I would be trying to fight wanting to study.
That's so sad.
Um,
And you just weren't supported.
I don't think the parents understood. They feared more that if our child studies, will she become too independent? But then I had relatives, cousins older than me, but they were getting married. To me, that was quite young. They were just about hitting barely 18.
Oh my God. Whoa.
So they hadn't got to university, and nobody above me had got to university that was surrounding me, or my
Okay.
parents. So
success was very much
how were we
different.
measured, or what could we achieve if no one above us, around us, were achieving, or their parents were allowing their daughters to get to university? So what chance was I going to have, even though my aspirations were there within me? So success for our parents were if their daughters could be married into a good family at their level, they saw that as success.
Okay. That's, I want to say interesting, but I think that's the wrong word. I want to say that that's tough to be measured in that sort of capacity, but it's very different to me and my upbringing, very different.
Well, this is why, when I became a mother with my own children, this is probably why I was very focused, with love, with the right intentions, that my daughters, they had to have that independence in their minds, to be mature emotionally, intelligently, before they made choices in any relationship, because we didn't have that choice, we didn't have that independence, or even get to having a mature mind,
Yeah.
because I was married off very early.
It's interesting because when I look at what success meant for me growing up, it was very much, God, from the age of, I would say actually probably primary school, like the very early sort of key stage 1 at primary school. And it would be, be top of the class, always get the gold stars, sit front of the classroom because, that's, you'll answer the most questions. And I felt like when we would come home, it would be that if you achieved well, if you got, star of the week, or I remember getting a head teacher's prize for a project once, that was success. And it felt like it came with a lot of pressure. And I think personally, I don't know if I created it in myself, but it was literally from the early days of primary school. And that continued throughout most of my upbringing. It was, you achieve high grades, you're the best in your sport. I had to be first team on everything. And God, it got to the point where I remember being captain of the first team of netball back at secondary school. And then I remember one of the teachers saying, oh, we need some of the girls, or we need a basketball team because all of this. I don't know how to play basketball, but I was like, yeah, I'll do it because, I can run. And I remember breaking my little finger on the first match because I felt that internal pressure, like I can do it all. I can do all this, because that was success. And I feel like when we came home, it was praised. And it maybe was to the detriment of my sisters, because the younger girls, it was, oh, Sarover's doing this, Sarover's doing that. And I feel like there was almost a comparison.
I feel that the schools that I was looking at before I put you into any school, I had that knowledge of, look at the school, look at the background. And your schools were so good, from primary school, even reception.
Yeah, for normal state schools, 100%.
They wanted the best out of the children, and they used to have really good ways of encouraging, motivating children. So I will say a lot of it was placed on the way the children were taught.
Yeah.
And they used to give so much awards and certificates from reception class, if I remember looking back at that.
But then bringing it home, this is the thing. And I remember with Dad, it got to the point where I think, and I don't want to speak for Dad, but I think with Dad, with his upbringing, it was, you have no choice in life, but you need to achieve well, because the world out there, you need to be somebody. Like, you need to be someone, you need money, you need to be stable because of what he went through.
Yes.
And I think I always had this underlying pressure or fear. If I'm going to be honest, I think I had this fear of, if I don't succeed in every aspect of my life, what's going to happen to me later on? Will I be that person in my adulthood struggling or trying to make ends meet, or, you know, having to count the pennies? And I was scared. And I think I had that from pretty much day one. And I think it comes back to the area we grew up in. We grew up in a very, you know, it was a very wealthy area. It was a very affluent area. And I felt like there was this pressure to conform but be a part of it. And that's all I ever wanted to. I felt like I could be. I felt like if I tried hard enough, I could achieve that. But it's interesting how much I'm talking about how education and hobbies and sports and extracurricular, how much that meant to us as success compared to your upbringing. It's like the actual
Totally
two
poles
generations
apart.
here, completely opposite.
Because I felt for children that it wasn't just about going to school and studying and coming home and that was it. I felt you had to do your languages, even music.
Yeah.
That's where you played guitar back in primary school.
Yeah, I didn't last long because I got kicked out of the lessons for being disruptive and talking.
I remember, yes. But I felt languages. I remember when your sister's doing Spanish, you did French.
Yeah,
I just felt that you all had to not just study, but do music, sports, everything. And then you could find your niche as to what do you resonate with. And then you can let some of it filter away to the sidelines. And as you're growing through each stage of school, you'll know what you like.
That's really,
This
it's
is
so
what I felt as a
interesting.
mother.
Yeah. And I'm glad we've spoke about this, because we've just identified two different cultures here having success meaning so different in their households growing up. But isn't it interesting now when we look back on it, like your parents now, so my grandparents, they can't sing our praises enough. When they hear about education and exams and uni and degrees, oh my goodness, they couldn't be any more happier. To the point is, you have to be in that box of, you know, lawyer, dentist, doctor, what else? Lawyer, dentist, doctor, something, an accountant. If you're one, or engineer, if you're one of those big five in their eyes, there's pressure now. Isn't it interesting? The pressure wasn't for us to get married. Well, I'm now 30, so I think the pressure's now gone for me. I think they've given up on me. But the pressure, obviously I did have that pressure to get married at one point in my life, in my 20s, but it wasn't as much as education and career.
Yes.
Maybe it's something that they've learned. And this is interesting. I'd love to have that chat with them to say, well, what changed for you?
Yes.
What changed for you to redefine success in our family?
From where they were. I mean, I remember when they came to watch my daughters having at the competitions. Well, yes, for you as well, and Amapri and Sharon. I remember they actually came to watch your kickboxing competitions.
Did they?
They actually came to watch.
Did they actually?
They did. They came to your kickboxing competitions when you were all fighting. They were there proudly watching that competition.
Really?
Yes. And they were so proud to see their granddaughters at a kickboxing competition.
Why don't I remember this?
I remember this. It was amazing.
I never thought
you won gold medals.
Cared. I honestly thought they didn't care about our hobbies or... Really?
And when you used to go to Kathak dancing, that was a classical Indian dance.
Yeah, but I thought they frowned upon us dancing.
Your nanny, grandma, from my mum, sorry. So my mum came to watch you at a theatre when you did Kathak dancing. That was Indian classical dance. She was so proud to watch you dancing.
I thought they frowned upon this.
Some family members started to frown upon Indian classical dance, but my mum was proud to watch you do that.
I'm so glad we had that conversation because, it's making me emotional because I never knew that.
I remember my mum was proud to see you because it was a spiritual classical dance that you performed in a theatre.
Yeah, I never knew.
But other members of the family frowned upon that dance.
Oh, I might need a minute there. Wow, I had no idea.
Yes.
I've always grown up up until this point in life thinking they frowned upon it.
Because other people, family members, did. But
External pressure.
Yes.
External pressure. Wow.
But you did amazing dance.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Okay. Do you know what? This is why people need to have these open conversations, because we've just had a revelation there that's potentially changed a lot for me in this moment. That because it's heavy. That's very heavy to know that. So
Yes.
wow, needed that. But
it just shows how much we carry emotions within us. And when we go back to, you talked about the household that I was brought up in.
But they wouldn't have had the same reaction if you were the one dancing growing up.
I remember once getting up to dance at a family wedding. I was in primary school, and it was one of our relatives. Their daughter was getting married, and we were so excited. And I remember going over to the dance floor. I must have been about 10 years old. And my brother had to walk over to me and say, "Bally, you need to go and sit down. Dad's watching you. You. But you need to go and sit down." But everyone was dancing.
I was going to say, because you're an amazing dancer. Yeah.
Yes, and it was a family wedding. But our family's there, so we're protected.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling, what have I done wrong? But my brother had to say to me that just the eyes are watching you. You need to go and sit down.
And now look, they were apparently sat there proudly watching your daughter. Who would have thought? But that's wow. It took them to go, and this is what I love about the title of us saying off script, because it took them, something in them which we don't know, to completely go off track, to realise we need to support our granddaughter, and we are proud to support her, because they didn't with their own daughter. Wow, that's really
and today,
interesting.
My parents are the last couple off the dance floor. They dance so much at family weddings that they're the last people off the dance floor.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, there's no problems with knee pains and back pain when they're on that dance floor, I can tell you that much.
So something has shifted as time has evolved.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's just a shame for many that grew up during those years. We're going to talk about the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. Maybe some are still going through that today.
Yeah.
That there are so many emotions that many went through, trauma bonding, that those emotions weighted.
They just need to support
adulthood.
their kids. Support your kids. Whatever makes your kids happy, support it. That's all it takes. But what was it like for you at school? Because I would love to know what your whole experience at school was.
See, with me, I grew up in a school where it was mainly Asians.
Okay.
So lots of ethnic minorities. And I was in an all-girls school.
Really?
Yes.
I can't even imagine
school.
that.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
And it was very comfortable.
Okay. And did you feel like you did fit in? Was there any sort of like bullying or anything like that? Or were you just happy with school?
I enjoyed school because that was a place where I could learn and understand and be myself.
Be yourself,
Be myself.
Yeah, that's good. That's amazing.
What was interesting is that when you came home, parents, because of the lack of education in the Western world, because they've travelled from India, settling in the UK, they couldn't support, they couldn't understand. And I think we talked about this on the last episode, that parents' evenings, my mum would have to ask others to come and join her just to be present, because you had to be at these parents' evenings. Okay. So that support couldn't filter back in the house away from school.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because that's so different to my schooling. It could not be any different. I remember my first sort of primary school, and it was the same. We were in an area where it was predominantly South Asians, ethnic minorities, and I remember feeling, this was like very early, like we're talking the first few years of school, and I remember feeling like the popular kid, and I had a great circle of friends, and I think I even had a primary school boyfriend at the time. Like it was just, I felt like I was me. I felt comfortable. And I remember when we changed and we moved to Bucks.
Yes.
And I started in the new school, and obviously I changed for my reasons at the time, but it was okay because it was in the same area, a few roads away. And it all changed for me. And I think it was my environment that created anxiety. And because I stood out. I was now different to everybody else. It was a predominantly white area growing up. And now I'm the Indian kid. I look different. I felt like I just was so different in so many ways. And I struggled to fit in. And I remember feeling like the outcast. I went through bullying. And I remember thinking back, and I remember asking you once to take me back to the primary school to say bye to everyone when we started the next year. I remember walking in and seeing them all sat there and thinking, how have I left this? How have I left comfortable? But we'd moved for the right reasons, I totally agree. And yeah, that's what it was like for me. I felt like people couldn't say my name. I used to be so embarrassed of my name. Even the teacher on the register, I couldn't believe how many times they say your name in the morning and I'll still get like Sarover or God, Sarover. That was like the main two. And I was like, I used to say it's a silent A and there's no H. But Sarover was just so hard, even other kids. And I think that's when I started to become quite embarrassed of my culture. And I just wanted to fit in. I didn't want to stand out. And it got to a point, like the personal growth as a girl as well. Like, I had the tash, the sideburns, and then we had to go through the threading. And none of my friends had to go through that. They didn't go through the pain of it at such a young age. And it was hard.
In our families, girls were not allowed to cut their hair, remove facial hair, or try to look prettier. It was frowned upon. Oh, why are they trying to look better, removing facial hair so early on? They're still too young.
Yeah, you supported it to help us fit in.
But yet we would have that side of it in our cultures.
Yeah.
People were quick to notice, oh.
But then this is what I think is what really actually makes me quite angry is if you're then going to raise your kids in these environments, you'll have to understand, why is your kid crying? Why they say, I don't want the sideburns, I don't want this.
Yeah.
You have to then meet them halfway. Whatever that looks for. I would never, obviously, my opinion is, if your kid is really anxious and upset and they're getting bullied for it, what can you do to help?
Because I remember when I was in my high school, I was in the middle of my GCSEs, and due to family circumstances, I was moved out of my girls' school into a mixed school. And like you just said, not feeling like you fitted in, suddenly I wasn't comfortable, just thrown into a mixed school, and it just threw me off.
Yeah. Well, this is it. School was hard in that sort of way. So it looks like we had, it's just, for you to have gone through what you went through, it's like you had to then adapt and change for us, because you knew what the pain was like to go through that, to feel like, because for you it was, I want to look pretty, that's what I want to do, X, Y, Z. For me it was, I just want to fit in and look like my friends and not look different. Like I was that scrawny Indian kid who, had the hairy legs and the knobbly knees and all that. My hair was always in a plait because it was so curly and wavy, and we didn't know how to manage it. And I was like, why couldn't I have straight hair and fairer skin and more, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's how school felt. But
I remember many girls in my high school, they were not allowed to shave their legs, they were not allowed to remove their facial hair, and they struggled. They were picked on, they were bullied. And I remember I became the person that would stand up for them. And I ended up fighting people to protect the girls, because I hated what was going on. I was totally against it. How dare someone pick on them and bully them? And I became known as a bit of a tomboy at high school.
Wow. Well, look what you did. You standing up for them allowed you, because you had it in you, to not follow the norm. And that allowed us to then at least have these times where we can, get our eyebrows threaded, wax the legs, things like that, just so we felt comfortable because of what you witnessed. So, wow.
So schooling, achieving high grades, how did that make you feel?
Oh God, how did that make me feel? Honestly, Mum, it caused me a lot of anxiety. It caused me to feel so anxious that if I don't achieve well, what's my worth? If I am not successful with the high grades and being the best at my sports, then who am I amongst everybody? It felt like success for me was validation. To be successful meant worthy. And I couldn't think that me just being, me just living life, being happy, being out and about, I felt like I couldn't do that because what's the point? It doesn't mean anything.
It sounds like you took on board so much pressure on those shoulders, like massively.
But I had no choice. I was the eldest. You used to have so many people looking at you, and your worth was defined on your kids, I think, at times. Like, people would be like, oh, Baddie's daughter does this, or Baddie's daughter does that. And I feel like for a lot of parents, when their kids achieve well, that's their validation. That's their badge of honour. Because it's like when children get degrees and they study so hard, sometimes it's the parents that get the praise. I've noticed that a lot in certain communities. It'll be like, congratulations to the parents, but it was the kids.
Yeah.
The kids went through all that. The kids did all the hard work, the pressure. I know a lot of parents out there have sacrificed a lot to get to their kids to that point. But look how much pressure rides on it, that a parent can be defined by the success of their own child. And I think I learned that quite early on. Because I remember even my GCSEs, and I did really well in them. I think I peaked at GCSEs, and because it just felt so easy to learn everything. And I remember getting my grades, and a very, very distant aunt posted my grades on Facebook. And I was thinking, wow, she's actually never congratulated me for anything else in my life, but the high grades meant everything. And that's when I realised, oh, I found how to be worthy in this family.
Gosh, okay.
And it was even my tutor. I remember her, like, how she used to speak about her kids. It wasn't about what their hobbies are, how happy they are. Were they even happy? But no, it was, oh, they go to this school, they achieve these grades, now they're doing this degree. That's what it was all based on. If anything, that anxiety caused me to burn out, I think, very early on in life. And I think I just continued in this sort of survival mode of just achieve well, it was even to the point my friends so my friends have been there from day one, and they saw it. And one of my closest friends, Toria, I remember we did a mock exam, or it was like a set exam, a very small one, an in-class test, let's say, and I got an A, and my friends around me got A stars. I cried. Like, I actually cried. And bless them, they were so good that they used to always support me no matter what. They probably didn't understand what, and they even said that, so it's not a big deal, but to me it was like, but you all got A stars. Now, what's the point? Now I've just not done well enough. But when I look back and I'm like, oh my God, Sarover, you literally got an A in that test and you cried. But it was, that's how it was for me. And I think a lot of kids can resonate with that. And I think what's sad is, until we change the narrative there and be like, as long as our kids are happy,
Correct.
that's all that matters. Because I think if I based myself on that, and I say me because you and Dad didn't put on too much pressure. I know Dad did at times because for him it was that place of fear.
Yeah.
Like, I remember getting a B in my GCSE, he goes, what happened? Maybe that was Dad's humour, because obviously I don't understand Dad's humour sometimes. But I was like, oh, but I got like 14 A stars and A's, and the 1B was an extra one I was doing before and after school to get an extra GCSE. So it crumbled me. It did. And I think if I didn't have that pressure of achieving high, my life could look very different right now. I think maybe I would have pursued sports, because that was my passion growing up. You know, kickboxing, netball, being in the first teams.
Gymnastics as well.
Okay, gymnastics I wasn't that great at, let's be real. You know, I didn't achieve very far than club level, but the other two I did. So I think going forward, what is happiness to your kids? What do your kids enjoy? And support and push in that direction, because that's all it is.
It's so important.
It's so important, because it affected my mental health. It affected my well-being. And only until everything I've gone through in life later on, I've realised, Sarover, the days you are happy, that's when life feels great. But the days I succumb to pressure, anxiety, trying to achieve, comparison, I'm not sat there happy. I'm sat there feeling low in myself. I'm sat there feeling like a failure. And I think it's just that switch of mindset going forward. And it's also, do you know what I find really, and I'm just going to go a bit off topic here.
Yes.
I find really interesting is, you know, when people try to set you up, okay, well, maybe not for you, Mum, but like for me, when people are trying to introduce you to
Yes.
someone, and why is it the first thing after their name is what job they do? I find that really bizarre now. Because growing up, I think for me, I was quite conservative. When I was dating, it was, you know, the tick box, make sure they've got a good job, good family, all of that, you know, that's how it was. But now I think, like, and I had somebody actually come up to me at the gym today and say this, you know, oh, like, I really wanted to introduce you to my friend. And I was like, mid Bulgarian squats, I had to take my headphones out. And I was like, sorry. And he goes, yeah, like his family owned care homes. And I was thinking, if I was going to try and set up my friend with someone, the first thing is not going to come out is what the family does or what they do I'd be like, oh my God, you're so into fitness, all of this. I've got a friend who literally is so similar to you. And I'll be like, oh, in what way? Because it's based on personality. That's what success would be in a relationship. It's personality, it's all of that. It's not your high achieving background, which I do respect. Of course, it takes a lot to get there, but we just have to soften the pressure.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Looking at both generations, it shows that parents on both sides want the best for their children.
Yes.
It's how they were showing it, portraying it. That's where there's a big gap. See, parents from my generation did not know how to show the emotions, show that love. That's where it's very different. And you might be able to add on your side that the parents from your generation, did you feel that the love was shown more?
I definitely feel like love was shown more, support was shown more. However, my pressure of high achievement came from external pressures. And I actually saw something earlier today, and someone said in a podcast, where does pressure come from?
Mm-hmm.
And it was, where does pressure come from for girls these days? And the guest speaker, who I absolutely admire,
Yes.
she said it comes from external pressures.
I'm going to agree with you on that, because my upbringing, I felt my parents sometimes didn't say much. It was from external family members.
And like me, the anxiety of to achieve well wasn't from within my family setting. It was everyone else with the relatives outside it.
Yes.
And what she said was, who cares what others think?
Yes, correct.
Why do we care about these external pressures? Because those external pressures and forces aren't the ones who are there for you on your hard days, the low days, when you're sat there crying at your desk, doing an exam, revising. They're not there.
Correct.
Who are there will be your parents in that house who can see how you're truly struggling and what support you need. And that's whose opinions matter. But those parents as well, it's just do it gently. Do that pressure gently and support your kids. And do what? Let's say they fail something, they've had to retake an exam, or they have to do a foundation year at uni to get onto the degree they want.
It does not matter.
It does not matter what others say. All that matters is your child is happy, your child is supported, and you're there for them. Not anybody else's opinion. Because if I didn't allow the opinion of others, I think I would have been a bit more stronger earlier on in life. It wouldn't have taken me to the age of 30 to gain that strength with a lot of help, a lot of healing, a lot of, going through the counselling, having these open conversations. It would have saved me a lot of time. So going forward now, if anybody has an opinion on what success looks like for me, what achievement looks like for me, it doesn't matter. If I'm happy, that's all that matters.
Yes, and I'm going to say the same about my parents. Looking back at time, what success would look like for me is if they had not listened to everyone else outside of them, if they had just engaged with me and my brothers and sister, listened to us and worked with us in that little family unit, we would have been in a very different situation and position.
Yeah.
Different narrative altogether. We'd have been a lot stronger. They would have learnt a lot through just their own children.
Yeah.
That would have been enough.
Yeah. I'm glad. I'm glad we had this conversation. Did you feel like you had to suppress parts of yourself to succeed?
I would say yes.
Because if success was defined as how children were at home, I guess how you really wanted to be, had to sort of just go into a shell and be the good daughter at home. And I feel like with me, I suppressed what I truly maybe enjoyed and what my real passions were, and pushed that aside to go down a track which I thought was the best track for everybody else to be proud of me. And I think there's others out there who might listen to this and say, actually, if I could have dropped the external pressures, or if I didn't have the pressures at home, what would I have been able to do in life? Where would I have been able to take what I enjoyed, what my passions were? So one thing I find really empowering is when I hear others say, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can always start again.
Yes.
And I feel like turning 30 is now, I've realised my worth isn't based on what my successes are in life. My worth is based on happiness. And that's how I've redefined it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I'm going to say the same. It doesn't matter, like you just said, what age you achieve or you reach. It's a success to even get to your 50s, get to your 60s.
Yeah.
If you can redefine and become who you should have been. And it is through healing.
Yeah.
It's through talking and accepting.
Yeah.
It's okay. Where we were, where we've come to, what we've learned, it's okay.
It's so true. And if this conversation resonated with you, or you feel that there's someone out there who would like to hear this and need to hear this, then please do share and follow and subscribe Off Script with Sarover and Mum. And thank you for being a part of today's conversation, and we hope to see you next time.